Okay, how to refurbish a Barbie dollhouse. First, you got to remove all the windows and doors. And then you are going to go to the bottom and remove the screws. Sometimes you'll have screws that get stuck, like these do. And instead of using a Phillips screwdriver, I'm using a flathead screwdriver so I don't strip the screw. Okay, now that all the screws are out of the bottom, I'm going to take the screws out from the roof. Alright, next you're going to disassemble the dollhouse. So that means you got to take off the roof. Then you're going to flip it over and you're going to start taking off the floors. Now if you don't know, this piece, this tall support is actually part of this bottom piece. So you're going to have to slide this bottom floor up, and you're going to have to do it evenly, otherwise it gets stuck. And you have to do it carefully because it is very old plastic. Okay, as you can see, I got the bottom floor off. That's what the floor looks like. And now I've got to take these off, the covers, and do this very carefully because they are very, very delicate and they will snap on you. And these I'm going to fix up with some white contact paper. I'm going to cover these up to make them stronger and white again. And then I am going to take off the covers off the top as well, and this nice fencing thing. And then I'm going to slide that top floor up and off. These fencing pieces, once you get the plastic covers off, are pretty easy to pop off. They just slide off like that. So that's pretty easy. Okay, now I've got all of this section dismantled. And don't worry about sorting it because on the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, but it does say top floor and the other one does say bottom floor. So, this is the pieces. As you can see, the bars go all the way up. So this one piece is both floors. So I'm going to make a nice pile of these, and then I'm going to do this with the other two sections. Alright, with this dollhouses being so old, sometimes the only way to get the stuff off is to, unfortunately, break it off. So this flower box on the roof had been there, well, this dollhouse is imprinted with 1978. So it's probably been there that long. And as you can see, I had to break these off. I had to break off the tabs in order to even get it off because it would just not come off. So before I wash or paint, I am going to have to take these tabs off, and what I use is like a little hole punch and a hammer, and I just knock them out, and that's pretty easy to do. Okay, now that I've got the screws undone on the roof, I want to show you how this is put together. You have two pieces in the center roof. This piece is on top. This piece is underneath that little tab. So you want to take that off and add it to your pile. And then you want to take this off and add it to the pile. And now you have those pieces supports, as well as my daughter's really cool disco ball. So you're going to want to go ahead and take off that support. And again, it's the same way. This piece is over, this piece is under. So you have to remember that when you go to put it back together. So it's easier if you take them all off in one piece. Okay, and now I'm going to have to take off the covers. And once again, you'll want to be careful with these because they're very brittle and they will snap and break on you. I've had that happen quite a few times. Okay. Now, like I was saying before, you see how these cross pieces are put in. There's a little tab. These just come out just like the fence part, very easily. Now these ones, even though they have little screws on them, we are not going to take these apart. There's no need to. So now we've got almost a skeleton of the middle of the house. And this one also comes off like how those cross pieces did. And then you're going to be taking off the top floor and the bottom floor just as before. Alright everyone, I have dismantled the dollhouse. I will be painting next, so I guess that's the reason why I'm repainting this. If you look, this white is all yellowed over the years, and these have been in these protectors, which are now yellow, and you can see how white that used to be. So it definitely needs to be repainted to look white again and look pretty. You can also see it on the floors. The top floor is very yellow, and the bottom floor still has the original pretty pink color. So we're going to change this, and we're going to make them all pretty again. As you can see on all the roof pieces, there are supports. These supports take a flathead screwdriver. Go ahead and take these off so we can paint the roof piece, and we can paint these as well. So these are nice and white again as well, because you do see these when you're playing with a dollhouse. Alright, to get ready for painting, we need to wash them because these things are very dirty, especially since they're, over 30 years old. So I'm going to hose them down, and I'm going to wipe them down and dry them off, and then when they're completely dry, I'm going to paint them. Okay, after you're done washing and drying off the pieces, or you can let them air dry, next step is to paint them now that they're all nice and clean. And I've already started, as you can see. You can tell the pieces I haven't painted yet because they look really yellow now. But you see that I've changed the doors from a shade of pink to white. Only try to do one layer. I have learned with this spray paint that I use that has primer in it, it doesn't matter what you do. If you put on a second layer, it will give it like a crackle look, unless you want that look. So make sure you get everything that you can with that first layer. And then when this is dry, I will flip it over and do the back. And I've also done some of the roofing and floor pieces. The roofing pieces I have changed to a magenta color. That's what it's called. It's called a satin magenta. So, and the floors will be the same color as that. And then we're going to, after I'm done painting the top layers, I will let it dry. And then about an hour I will come out and see if it's still tacky, and if it's not, I'll flip it over and paint the other side. For the floors, I painted both top and bottom because you see both sides. These are still wet, as you can see. And within an hour of painting, you put on your second coat or other coats. I put on a layer of glitter, and then short on each one, both top and bottom. And then shortly after that, I put on a layer of sealer, clear sealer, because the floors will have furniture scraping across them and Barbies walking across them. And I did this for each floor on each side. And when I was painting, I made sure that I got every little side and crevice, because when you're spray painting, those will get missed, so you got to double check. And also when you're painting, you need to make sure you get this inside lip underneath, because you will see that as well. As for paint, I used 3 different kinds of paints. The first thing I used on the white pieces was the Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Paint and Primer, bonds with plastic. And it's good for indoor and outdoor, and it really does dry fast. I used the gloss white color. For the floors and the roof, I used the Rust-Oleum brand again, paint and primer. I used satin magenta, and also bonds with plastic, indoor and outdoor again. So it's pretty much the same, just a different color. And then on the floors, I added glitter because Barbie always has glitter. So this is the Rust-Oleum glitter, and it works very well and is very shimmery. For the sealer, I used this. It's the Rust-Oleum clear, matte clear. It seals and protects and revitalizes, it says. I did not notice a difference between the gloss or the matte sealer, so you can use whichever you want. I put this over the floors because with playing with it, you're going to have furniture scraping across, Barbie walking across, especially with those little plastic high heels. So you're going to want to protect it to make sure that paint does not peel up or scratch. So this is what I use to protect that. Since you're going to be holding that paint can or for a long time, I got this. So instead of using my finger, I use a trigger, which made it a lot easier and a lot more comfortable, because you go through quite a few spray cans doing this if you're doing the entire Barbie house. Okay, once you've got everything painted, it's time to put it together. Gather all your parts. It'll be time to put it together. I also took the nasty covers, remember these? They were broken and yucky and yellow, and recovered them with just white contact paper. So they look nice, and they're very, not so fragile anymore, so they're very sturdy now. And we will put those on as we're putting it together. Okay, what I've done is I've sorted all the pieces. So I've got all the bottom floors, all the top floors, all the roofing, and all the bottom floor stuff, and then kind of the extra stuff. And then the last things you put on, like the doors and things like that, are put up. So I'm not messing with those right now. Now remember, I do have two houses that I am going to be putting together. But first I'm going to put together the normal house, and then to add on the third floor, I'm going to make some slight modifications. So if you're just putting together the normal A-frame Barbie house, this video is still good for you. Okay, so first I'm going to grab a bottom floor, and then I'm going to grab one of the walls. Now when you look at the bottom floor, it does say bottom floor, and then you probably won't be able to see it, but right in here it says front. So I know that this is the front of the house. This could be the left section, the right section, or the center. It doesn't matter which one. So first I'm going to grab the floor, and then I'm going to grab one of the sections. I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the center section. That way it's a little bit easier for me. Okay, to put the walls in, it's just simply stick them in the grooves. So for the center section, you're going to want the front door piece, and then the exact same piece is also the back door as well. Next, you're going to put the slip covers on. Before you put any screws in or anything like that, you're going to put the slip covers on. And to do that, you just grab the slip cover, you put it over the top, and you slide it down. And you make sure that the side that you cut is on the inside, because it's going to have to go around the wall piece. So then you just slip it down and make sure all your contact paper is tucked in if it's coming out. For some odd reason, mine's been coming out. So you do it that way. Alright, as you can see, I got part of the middle section put together. I slid the floor down these posts, and I put the post covers on, and then I slid these into the locks just like how we took it apart. Now I'm putting on the post covers, but I'm only pulling this down to there because I have to put the balcony on still. Alright, just as I just learned, this cross beam, the screws need to be facing out. And you see that little tab? That needs to be facing into the dollhouse in order to get the balcony on correctly. Now that I got the balcony on, I'm going to push these slide rails down all the way and make sure the opening goes over this little section right here. So, ta-da! It'll look like that. And see, the ugly post is all hidden. And you'll do the same thing on the other side as well. So it'll go from looking like that to that. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is put all this down. I've already done it. And screw on the bottom. Now these are different screws than they were before, because I went ahead and put in new screws since I'm refurbishing the dollhouse. And this is the size that fits. This is the, I picked these up from Home Depot. They're like $1.18 a pack or something like that. So these will replace what was originally there, which is, you know, probably pretty corroded or rusted, or the head of the screw is stripped. Okay, next we're going to put the center roof back on. You're going to need these two pieces and the two center roof pieces as well, which is the two little half roof pieces. And we're going to put those on the same way we took them off. Remember, you've got these different size tabs, and one tab is going to go over the other. So the smaller tab will go over the fatter tab on the other roofing piece. Okay, for the roofing structure, you're going to put it on. This little piece is going to fit right over this support. And then remember, you've got to have this tab overlapping and then the other tab overlapping as well. So your structure is going to look like that. And then next you're going to put on the roof pieces. Okay, I've set the roofing pieces on, and it's just kind of goes right, for this piece it goes right in there. So it just kind of rests. And the smaller tab is inside the larger tab. And on the other piece, this other smaller tab is inside this larger tab. And now I've just got to put the screws back in. Okay, I'm putting the side pieces together, and I have to put the roof piece on. And in order to do that, this is the roof piece. I need to put these white pieces back on. And they go over here. Like that. And these are the smaller screws. I did go ahead and replace these screws as well. These were the flathead screws that you took out. And I replaced those screws, and that is what they are. Again, Home Depot for like $1.18. So after we put the white piece on, we're going to put it on the top of this and screw it on. Okay, now that I am done with the structure of the house, this is how it would normally look minus the doors and the windows. I am going to start on the 3rd floor. I'm going to start assembling it just like I would with that first house. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to cut off the extra plastic that's going to stick out from the top. And I'll have to cut that off so it's level with the floor. And then the top floor is going to be glued to that bottom floor. So it'll be a 3rd floor. And the wall units that I am going to use, the wall panels, are going to be the exact same as these. Okay, now for the finishing touches. I am putting flowers inside the flower pots, the roof flower pots and the front of the house flower pots. As you can see, I picked out different flowers, a lot more colors than what originally came with the house. And I actually hot glued them in. The little green things that came with the house for the flowers, these things right here, they don't work really well with anything other than the original flowers. And once this is painted, even though it's a very small layer, you've added an extra layer of thickness, and they don't really fit very well in here. So now that's what I'm doing. I'm just putting hot glue on that hole, and then taking the flower and putting the flower in, and then letting it set for a couple minutes. And then once all that top is dry, I'm turning it over, and I am also gluing the bottom where the flower sits. So that way it's nice and secure and hopefully will not be able to get pulled out. Part of the finishing touches that I did was I painted the windows and the doors and the top of the closet. So this is what the windows look like after. The same color as the floors. And in order to do that, I just put painter's tape over the window part. If you can get frog tape, use frog tape because it is so much better. I also painted the swinging back doors, the ones that were white. I made the panel magenta, and this is why I say use the frog tape, because the blue is painter's tape. The paint seeps through, no matter if it's got that paint shield stuff in it or not. And so I'm going to have to go through and retouch up these white areas. So try to use frog's tape if you can. For the closet, I painted the roof magenta, since the roof of the house is magenta. And as you can see, this had been sitting for about a week, and it still crackled the paint. I painted the entire thing white, and then I went and painted this the magenta color. So if you want to do this, tape this off, this part off when you paint it white, so that way you don't have this crackle. Okay, putting together the third floor. I have the bottom floor and I have the wall pieces. Now we've cut off the posts so they'll line up with the top floor. I've got the walls in place and I'm going to put on the covers and then I'm going to put on the top floor. So I have finished my remodeling of the Barbie Dreamhouse from the 80s and 90s. I have added an extra story. I have repainted all the pieces. I have put in new flowers and new screws. And she looks gorgeous. Much better than what she did. As you can see, I still need to get a few windows and a few doors or add my own personal touches, maybe sew up some curtains or things like that for it. But my daughter is going to love this. Here's the front of the house. And I'm going to walk around and show you the back. See, the flowers turned out perfect. And there's the back of the house. You see what I did with the closet there? Made it match the roof since it had roofing pieces. So, there you go, guys. Thank you very much for watching my video. And I hope that you have as much fun as I did remodeling this wonderful dollhouse from my childhood.